Okay, now as we have completed this chapter by now, in the end there is just one question that needs to be answered, and then we'll proceed with the next chapter, inshallah. Now we have studied that potential output is the real GDP when all the markets are in the equilibrium. When markets are in equilibrium, then we say that whatever capacity is there in any economy to produce the level of output, the same level of output is produced in the economy. And therefore, both the potential output and the actual output will be equal to each other, and in that case, potential output will be equal to the real GDP. Output cap जैसे हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है, it indicates this equilibrium in some markets. The wider the output cap, the greater the disequilibrium in the market, and the smaller the output cap, the smaller will be the disequilibrium in the market. Now it is saying that if we leave the short run and drop the assumption that factor prices are constant, we can ask how does the economy react to persistent output caps. Now, before the slide, we have studied the output cap with reference to short-run economy, where the wages of labor, the stock of capital and technology were all taken to be constant. That is, they uh, could not change in the short run. And because of that constancy, what happened was that we studied the real GDP and potential output with reference to it, and then we found out that when the markets are in equilibrium, then the real GDP and potential output are in, equal to each other. Now, if we leave the short run, if we move towards the long run and we drop the assumption that factor prices are constant, that is, the wages of the labor are now in this statement is actually saying that let us say that the labor prices are not constant, that is, the labor wages are not constant, the capital, the interest on the capital is not constant, and the rent of the land is not constant. Then, how can the economy react to persistent output changes? When the economy becomes a bit complex, then it is not easy to study the changes in the output caps. Then, what will we do is that we have to know how the economy will react to the changes that are occurring persistently in the output caps. For that purpose, what happens is that we say that the labor market is one of the markets not in equilibrium when there is an output cap. Labor market is a market in which we study the labor supply and labor demand. ठीक है, लेबर सप्लाई और लेबर डिमांड इक्विलिब्रियम में नहीं होंगे जब आउटपुट कैप होगा, दैट इज जितना लेबर हमें चाहिए काम के लिए या तो उससे ज़्यादा या तो उससे कम होगा. It will not be equal to the amount of labor that is needed by the industries. We also know from national income accounts that labor costs are the largest part of the factor cost of production, and the labor cost per unit of output are the largest part of prices. Whenever an industry produces the goods and services, okay, it has to pay the wages to the labor. Now, from national income theory that we studied in chapter 2, we studied that it is the labor costs that are the largest amount of payments in the form of factor costs which the industry or which the firm has to pay to the labor. And the labor cost per unit of output are also the largest. That is, the firm faces the highest costs for any factor is the labor cost. If the labor market is not in equilibrium, that is, labor supply and labor demand are not equal to each other, then what will happen is that unemployment rates not equal. Then the unemployment rate is not equal to the natural rate of unemployment. This results in the changes in the money wage rate. And when the unemployment rate is not equal to the natural rate of unemployment, then there will be a change in the wages that are paid to the labor. I hope it's clear to you what is natural rate of unemployment. Natural rate of unemployment occurs due to voluntary unemployment, structural unemployment, or seasonal unemployment. And that unemployment is covered, or you can say that those unemployed people are accommodated quickly rather than lately. Therefore, that type of unemployment is known as natural unemployment, and we know that it is around 6 to 7% in most of the economies. So when the labor market is not in equilibrium, then the because unemployment is not equal to the natural rate of unemployment, then there will be a change in the money wage rate. That is, either the wages will increase of the labor or the wage rate of the labor will decrease. They cannot remain the same. Therefore, persistent output caps will change when the wage rates and other factor prices and costs they also changes. And therefore the changes in the cost will change prices, which will shift the short run aggregate supply curve. और इन चेंजेस की वजह से क्या होगा, बिकॉज ऑफ द आउटपुट कैप्स में जो चेंजेस होंगे दैट इज दे आर नॉट इक्वल, द आउटपुट इज नॉट इक्वल टू द पोटेंशियल आउटपुट, तो फिर वेज रेट्स में और दूसरे फैक्टर की प्राइसेस में भी और कॉस्ट में चेंज आएगा। और इन चेंजेस की वजह से क्या होगा, द शॉर्ट रन एग्रीगेट सप्लाई कर्व विल शिफ्ट either to the right or to the left. The economy may have an adjustment mechanism that tries to eliminate the output caps over time. And then of course इकोनॉमिक सेटअप ऐसा होता है जिसमें एडजस्टमेंट मैकेनिज्म मौजूद होता है, यानी कि देयर इज इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन दी एम्प्लॉयर्स एंड एम्प्लॉयज, ठीक है, जो कि इस आउटपुट कैप को टाइम के साथ साथ रिमूव करता है। This adjustment process assumes that both aggregate demand curve is not changed by the fall in wage rates that shifts the aggregate supply curve. Over here there is a small confusion, ठीक है, वो क्या है कि in a money economy when there is debt in financial contracts denominated in the nominal terms, a general fall in the money incomes can cause financial distress, extensive insolvencies and reductions in aggregate demand. अब क्या कह रहे हैं कि एडजस्टमेंट प्रोसेस अज्यूम ये करता है, देयर इज एन असम्पशन कि एग्रीगेट डिमांड कर्व जो है वो चेंज नहीं होगा, किसकी वजह से, बाय द फॉल इन द वेज रेट, ठीक है, फॉल इन द वेज रेट जब होगा तो उसकी वजह से एग्रीगेट सप्लाई कर्व शिफ्ट हो जाएगा, लेकिन एग्रीगेट डिमांड कर्व है वो अपनी जगह पे है। और ये स्टेटमेंट जो है ये हमें थोड़ा सा डाउट की तरफ ले जा रहा है, ठीक है ना, सही, वी बिकम डाउटफुल ओवर हियर, व्हाई, बिकॉज मनी इकोनॉमी में क्या होता है, जब डेट होता है दैट इज व्हेन यू हैव टू रीपे एन अमाउंट ऑफ मनी टू द वन फ्रॉम whom you have taken loan, या फिर फाइनेंशियल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स जो आप करते हो इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ, बैंक्स के साथ, ठीक है ना, वो डिनोमिनेट हो जाए या उनकी वैल्यू जो है वो कम हो जाए नॉमिनल टर्म्स में। Everyone has made the assignment, ठीक है, what is nominal term, it is clear to all of you. Then there will be a general fall in the money incomes of the people who are working for the industries, ठीक है, and when there is a fall in the money incomes of the labor or the workers or the employees, it will cause a financial distress to the workers, that is financially they will become you can say depressed, discouraged, demotivated, and then what will arise is that different insolvencies will arise which will reduce the aggregate demand curve. तो therefore ये जो स्टेटमेंट ये कह रही है कि एग्रीगेट डिमांड कर्व चेंज नहीं होगा बिकॉज ऑफ फॉल इन द वेज रेट, ये चेंज जो है ये स्टेटमेंट जो है इसका कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी यहाँ पे हो रहा है, बिल्कुल इसके ऑपोजिट सिचुएशन एग्जिस्ट करके, जब एग्रीगेट सप्लाई कर्व जो है वो बैकवर्ड शिफ्ट किया तो ये प्रॉब्लम्स अराइज होंगे, दैट इज मनी इनकम्स विल डिक्रीज, फाइनेंशियल डिस्ट्रेस इंक्रीज हो जाएगा और एक्सटेंसिव इंसॉल्वेंसीज हो जाएंगी, जिसकी वजह से एग्रीगेट डिमांड कर्व भी नीचे की तरफ शिफ्ट करेगा। Therefore, economists generally agree that deflation, that is a persistent fall in the general price level. What is it? It is contradictory. It is contractionary, not expansionary as a simple adjustment process suggests. तो ये जो थर्ड स्टेटमेंट में जो प्रॉब्लम्स अराइज हुए हैं जिसकी वजह से इकोनॉमी जो है वो बूम की बजाय नीचे डिप्रेशन की तरफ जा रही है, इसकी वजह से क्या होगा, डिफ्लेशन होगी, और डिफ्लेशन विल रिजल्ट इन दी कॉन्ट्रैक्शनरी प्राइस लेवल, ठीक है ना, प्राइसेस कम होती जाएंगी, इकोनॉमी जो है वो कॉन्ट्रैक्शन की तरफ जाएगी, एंड देयरफॉर उस तरह का एडजस्टमेंट प्रोसेस नहीं होगा जिस तरह से हम लोग इसको अज्यूम कर रहे थे। So it is not a simple procedure to adjust to the output caps, rather it requires some understanding, which we will study again in the coming chapters. If there is any question, you people can ask.